Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into a fascinating 1974 speech called The Hope of Youth, and it proposes this really radical idea that your own personal internal struggles are actually a direct reflection of global conflict, and that if you can solve one, you can solve the other. Let's break down how it builds this incredibly ambitious vision. So the speech kicks off by tapping into a feeling I think we can all recognize. You set a goal, you work hard, you finally achieve it. Maybe you become a professor or you build a successful company, but that feeling of satisfaction just doesn't last. The argument here is that as soon as we climb one mountain, we're already looking for the next one. It suggests that all this worldly success by itself isn't the real destination we're all looking for.
Okay, so let's really dive into this core problem. If chasing ambition in the real world isn't going to cut it, what are people, especially young people, truly looking for? Well, the speech suggests there's this unconscious drive for something way more permanent, something that lasts. Now, hold on. This isn't about wanting to be some kind of dictator or the CEO of the world. The speech is talking about finding an internal state of perfection. It's about building a core self that doesn't get shaken by your circumstances. The goal is to become so consistent, so dependable, that you become a stable center for your own world, and from there, for the world at large.
This brings us to the big question, right? If all the usual goals we aim for just fall short, then what is the real target? And the text proposes a single powerful concept to answer this: the ideal. So, what exactly is this ideal? Well, what's really fascinating is how this speech defines it. It literally breaks down the structure of the Chinese characters for the word to reveal what it sees as a deeper, universal truth.
So this tells us the ideal isn't something you achieve all by yourself in isolation. It absolutely requires a relationship. You have the village, which represents the whole world, and it's focusing on the king, the central point. It's this vision of perfect unity, where a center and everything around it come together in this perfect give-and-take partnership.
And then it takes this idea even further with the concept of goodness. See, in this framework, the very definition of goodness is the harmonious union of two parts, a subject and an object, symbolized right here by woman and a man becoming one. This theme of unity through two parts coming together, that is absolutely central to the entire logic of this speech. So with that definition of the ideal in our heads, how does a person actually begin this journey? Well, the speech lays out an internal path, starting with a fundamental conflict that it says is raging inside every single one of us. The speech basically says there's this constant fight going on inside us between our mind and our body. The mind, or our conscience, is the part of us that's connected to the whole, the part that connects to God. But then you have the body, which is described as being totally self-centered, temporary, and, in the text view, actually occupied by a force it calls Satan. And this is the key part. Your conscience isn't just some little voice telling you what's right or wrong. In this framework, it is your direct line to the origin of everything, the ultimate cause, which is identified as God. So aligning with your conscience is the absolute first and most important step toward reaching that ideal state. And this thinking lays out a very clear four-step path that takes you from the inside out. First, you've got to create harmony inside yourself, putting your mind in charge of your body. From there, you become completely one with God through your conscience. Step 3 is to unite with a spouse. And that final perfect unity, that is what this text defines as goodness and even heaven. Okay, now let's take it to the next level, because this is where things get really big. The speech takes this blueprint for individual perfection and applies it to the entire planet, blending the personal with the geopolitical in a really stunning way. So, the global conflict back in 1974 is presented as a direct mirror of that internal mind-body struggle. You have the free world representing the spiritual side, and communism representing the material, self-centered side. The argument is that the world is in chaos because humanity is fundamentally broken on the inside, a condition it traces all the way back to the fall of man. Now, to resolve this global mess, the speech outlines what it calls a divine dispensation, a grand plan that assigns very specific, symbolic roles to different nations. In this view, Korea is the spiritual Adam country, Japan is the mediating Eve country, and America is the archangel country, representing the peak of material civilization. This setup creates a very specific flow for civilization. The idea is that material power, which is embodied by America, has to pass through Japan, the mediator, to finally unite with the spiritual center, which is Korea. And the whole point of this entire process is to heal that massive global rift between the material West and the spiritual East. So, this brings us to the final, crucial question. After all this, after the personal work and this massive geopolitical restructuring, what is the ultimate mission? What is the final hope of youth that this whole vision has been building towards? And the ambition here is truly cosmic. I mean, the ultimate goal isn't just to fix the world or for you to reach enlightenment. The speech claims the ideal has to be so high, so perfect, that it can actually liberate God, who's described as being trapped or fettered by humanity's long history of imperfection. And here it is, your key takeaway. This framework connects every single level of existence. The personal quest you have for inner harmony is the very first step in creating a perfect family. That family then becomes the model for unifying a nation, which then becomes the model for unifying the world, and ultimately for restoring the entire cosmos. And that's our look into the hope of youth. It really leaves us with a provocative thought to chew on, doesn't it? What does it mean when a personal mission for inner peace and a geopolitical mission for world peace become one and the same thing? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.